The weight of brotherhood. The desert heat pressed down like a heavy blanket as Staff Sergeant adjusted his medical pack for the third time in 10 minutes. The small forward operating base in eastern Afghanistan buzzed with nervous energy. Intelligence reports had been flooding in for days about a high-value target hiding in a compound just 8 miles from their position. The man they were after wasn't just any Taliban fighter. He was the bomb maker responsible for the deaths of 12 American soldiers in the past month. Had been with the team for 18 months now, serving as the primary medic for SEAL Team 7's Delta Platoon. At 28, he was older than most of the other enlisted men, having joined the Navy after completing his paramedic training in civilian life. The transition from saving lives in Chicago's emergency rooms to patching up warriors in combat zones had been jarring, but had found his calling among these elite fighters. Commander Jake called the final briefing at 400 hours. The pre-dawn darkness provided cover as the team gathered around a makeshift table constructed from ammunition crates. Was a legend among the SEALs, a man who had earned his reputation through 15 years of combat operations across multiple theaters. His weathered face told stories of countless missions, and his calm demeanor under pressure had saved more lives than anyone could count. "Today we're going after," announced, pointing to a grainy photograph pinned to the tactical board. "This piece of garbage has been making bombs that are tearing apart our brothers. Intelligence suggests he's holed up in this compound with at least 15 fighters." The compound layout was complex, a series of interconnected buildings surrounded by high walls and multiple escape routes. What made this mission particularly dangerous was its location in a valley surrounded by ridges that provided perfect sniper positions for enemy fighters. The team would be exposed during their approach, and extraction would be even more challenging. Studied the medical evacuation plan carefully. In his experience, even the best-planned operations could go sideways quickly. He had learned to prepare for multiple casualty scenarios, ensuring he carried enough supplies to treat everything from minor shrapnel wounds to catastrophic injuries. His medical bag contained combat tourniquets, hemostatic agents, chest seals, airways, and enough morphine to keep a wounded man comfortable during a long extraction. The team consisted of 8 SEALs, each with specialized skills. Besides, and there was Petty Officer First Class, their explosives expert, Chief Petty Officer Williams, their communications specialist, and 4 other operators whose talents ranged from sniping to close-quarters combat. They had worked together for over a year, developing the kind of trust that only comes from shared danger and mutual dependence. As they conducted their final equipment checks, noticed inspecting his personal weapon, a .50 caliber sniper rifle that he had carried on dozens of missions. The weapon was more than just a tool to the commander. It was a trusted companion that had never let him down. Had earned expert marksman badges with multiple weapon systems, but the .50 cal was his preferred instrument when precision and stopping power were both required. The insertion plan called for a night helicopter drop 3 miles from the target compound. They would move on foot through rough terrain, approach the compound under cover of darkness, and initiate the assault at dawn. The timing was crucial. They needed enough daylight to identify their target and clear the buildings, but not so much that enemy reinforcements could effectively counterattack. At 500 hours, the team boarded the MH-60 Black Hawk helicopter, felt the familiar mixture of adrenaline and anxiety that preceded every mission. He had learned to channel these feelings into heightened awareness and preparation. As the helicopter lifted off, he mentally reviewed his medical procedures and checked his supplies one final time. The flight to the insertion point was uneventful, but could see the tension in his teammates' faces. Intelligence reports suggested this wouldn't be a routine raid, was reportedly paranoid and well-prepared for an assault. His compound was fortified with improvised explosive devices, reinforced fighting positions, and enough weapons to sustain a prolonged battle. During the 30-minute flight, briefed the team on last-minute intelligence updates. Enemy strength was estimated at 20 fighters instead of the original 15. More concerning was the report of a possible escape tunnel that could allow to flee before they could capture him. The mission parameters remained the same, but the margin for error had decreased significantly. As they approached the drop zone, checked his medical supplies one more time. He carried an unusually heavy load for this mission, additional blood products, extra tourniquets, and specialized equipment for treating blast injuries. Something about the intelligence reports and the compound layout made him expect the worst. The helicopter descended rapidly in the final approach, using terrain features to mask its presence. Felt his stomach drop as they dove toward the landing zone. The pilots were experts at tactical insertions, but the sensation never became routine. As the aircraft flared for landing, could see the dark outline of the mountains surrounding their target area. The team fast-roped from the helicopter in less than 30 seconds. As soon as the last man touched the ground, the aircraft departed, leaving them alone in enemy territory. Immediately established security while Williams confirmed their position using GPS coordinates. They were exactly where they needed to be, but knew that precision in the insertion was only the first step in what promised to be a challenging mission. The 3-mile movement to the compound took 2 hours. The terrain was rougher than expected, with loose rocks that threatened to betray their position with every step. Led from the front, using night vision equipment to navigate the treacherous path while avoiding potential ambush sites. Stayed in the middle of the formation, positioned where he could quickly reach any team member who might need medical attention. As they crested the final ridge before their target, got his first clear view of compound. Even in the pre-dawn darkness, he could see that intelligence reports had underestimated the fortifications. The walls were higher and thicker than expected, and thermal imaging revealed more fighters than anticipated moving within the buildings. Called for a final equipment and communications check before beginning their assault. Ensured his medical gear was easily accessible and that his personal weapon was ready for use. As a medic, his primary responsibility was treating wounded, but every SEAL was trained as a rifleman first. In the chaos of combat, he might need to fight his way to a casualty or defend a wounded teammate while providing treatment. The plan called for a coordinated assault from multiple directions. Would breach the main gate using explosive charges while 2 fire teams entered from opposite sides of the compound. Would provide overwatch from an elevated position, using his .50 caliber rifle to neutralize threats and protect the assault teams. Would follow the primary assault team, ready to treat casualties and coordinate medical evacuation if needed. As the sun began to rise over the Afghan mountains, felt the familiar calm that settled over him before combat. He had learned to trust his training, his equipment, and most importantly, his teammates. Whatever happened in the next few hours, he was prepared to do his job and bring his brothers home safely, when hell breaks loose. The first explosion shattered the morning silence at exactly 6:30 hours. His breaching charge blew the main gate apart in a shower of concrete and metal fragments. Felt the shockwave wash over him as the assault teams rushed through the breach. The operation had begun. His voice crackled over the radio from his overwatch position. Multiple tangos moving in the courtyard, taking shots now. The distinctive boom of his .50 caliber rifle punctuated his transmission as he engaged enemy fighters attempting to set up defensive positions. Followed the primary assault team through the breach, his medical bag bouncing against his hip as he ran. The compound was larger than it had appeared in the aerial photographs. 3 main buildings surrounded a central courtyard, with smaller outbuildings and storage areas creating a maze of potential hiding spots and ambush positions. Chief Williams was the first man through the door of the primary building when heard the sharp crack of sniper fire from the surrounding hills. Someone was shooting at them from outside the compound. A bullet struck the wall inches from Williams' head, sending chunks of concrete flying. "Sniper on the ridge," his voice was calm but urgent. "Northeast about 800 meters. I don't have a clear shot from this position." The team's momentum stalled as they took cover from the external threat. Could see pressed against the wall of the second building, unable to advance to his assigned target. The mission timeline was already falling behind, and every minute they spent pinned down increased the chances that would escape through his tunnel system. Petty Officer Second Class was crossing the courtyard when the sniper found his range. The bullet caught in the upper chest, spinning him around and dropping him behind a low wall. Could see blood spreading across his teammate's uniform. "Man down," called over the radio as he sprinted across the open ground towards position. Bullets from the ridge sniper kicked up dirt around his feet, but his focus was entirely on reaching his wounded teammate. Was conscious but in obvious pain when reached him. The bullet had struck his right shoulder, breaking his collarbone and potentially damaging major blood vessels. Immediately applied pressure to the wound while assessing for other injuries. "How bad is it, Doc?" asked through gritted teeth. "You're going to be fine," replied, though he was concerned about the amount of blood loss. The bullet had missed major arteries, but the shoulder injury would prevent him from continuing the mission. Administered a pain medication injection and applied a combat dressing to control the bleeding. From his elevated position, continued engaging the sniper while trying to protect his team below. His .50 caliber rifle was devastatingly accurate, but the enemy fighter was well concealed and kept changing positions after each shot. Had fired 6 rounds without achieving a confirmed kill. "Doc, I need you to get to the rally point for evacuation," ordered over the radio. "Williams, continue the building search. We're running out of time." Knew that moving would be dangerous with the sniper still active, but leaving him in the courtyard wasn't an option either. He fashioned a hasty stretcher using his rifle and tactical vest, then began the careful process of moving his wounded teammate to safety. As they moved toward the extraction point, heard intense gunfire erupting from the main building. Williams had encountered a group of fighters barricaded on the second floor. The distinctive sound of AK-47 assault rifles mixed with the sharper reports of American weapons as the firefight intensified. "Multiple tangos on the second floor," Williams reported. "They've got good positions and plenty of ammunition, is pinned down on the stairs." Was faced with an impossible choice. His team needed his support in the building, but the Ridge sniper continued to threaten anyone moving in the courtyard. His elevated position gave him an overview of the entire compound, but he couldn't be in 2 places at once. The mission was becoming more complex by the minute. Intelligence reports had been wrong about enemy strength, fortifications, and the tactical situation. What was supposed to be a quick capture operation was turning into a prolonged battle with multiple enemy positions and mounting casualties. Had just reached the rally point when he heard his voice over the radio with a new urgency. "Doc, I need you back in the compound immediately. Is down with multiple injuries. Williams can't reach him." Grabbed his arm as he prepared to leave. "Don't get yourself killed trying to save us, Doc. We knew what we signed up for." Squeezed the shoulder reassuringly. "Stay here and keep pressure on that wound. Extraction helicopter should be here in 20 minutes. Racing back toward the compound, could see that the tactical situation had deteriorated significantly. Black smoke was rising from one of the buildings, and the sound of gunfire was now almost continuous. His .50 caliber rifle continued its methodical work from the overwatch position, but could see muzzle flashes from multiple enemy positions. When reached the main building, he found Williams pressed against the wall at the base of the staircase. "Went up there 5 minutes ago," Williams explained. "Heard him screaming, then nothing. That sniper's still active and can't leave his position to help us clear these buildings." Could see the tactical problem clearly. His overwatch position was critical for protecting the team from external threats and coordinating the assault, but needed immediate medical attention, and the team didn't have enough manpower to simultaneously clear the buildings and maintain security. The sound of approaching helicopters filled the air. Looked up to see 2 Apache attack helicopters arriving to provide close air support. Their arrival would help with the external threats, but the team still had to complete their primary mission and rescue. "Doc, the Apache can handle the Ridge sniper, but we've got a new problem. Thermal imaging shows a large group of fighters moving toward our position from the east. We've got maybe 10 minutes before we're completely surrounded." The mission had reached its critical moment. Was still somewhere in the compound, was wounded and trapped on the second floor, and enemy reinforcements were approaching. Knew that the next few minutes would determine whether they completed their mission or found themselves fighting for survival in an increasingly hopeless situation. Williams looked at with grim determination. "We're going up those stairs together. It's got our backs, and those Apache will keep the outside threats busy. It's time to finish this." As they prepared to assault the second floor, heard's voice one more time over the radio. His tone was different now, not just commanding, but almost paternal. "Stay low, move fast, and bring home. I've got eyes on everything from up here." The staircase was narrow and exposed, offering little protection from defenders above. Could see bullet holes in the walls where had fought his way up. Blood drops on the steps told the story of his teammates' struggle and confirmed that he was badly wounded. Checked his medical supplies one final time and chambered a round in his rifle. In a few seconds, he would discover whether was still alive and learn the true cost of their mission to capture. the ultimate test of brotherhood. And Williams moved up the staircase with practiced precision, each covering the other as they advanced toward the second floor. The blood trail was getting heavier, and could hear labored breathing even over the sound of gunfire from other parts of the compound. His teammate was alive, but time was running out. At the top of the stairs, they found pressed against a doorway, conscious but bleeding from multiple wounds. A grenade blast had caught him in the legs and abdomen, and he had been returning fire with his sidearm to keep enemy fighters from advancing on his position. "About time you guys showed up," managed through gritted teeth, trying to maintain his usual humor despite obvious pain. "I was starting to think you forgot about me." Immediately began treating injuries, while Williams secured the area. The wounds were serious but not immediately life-threatening if they could control the bleeding and get him evacuated quickly. The problem was that enemy fighters were still active in adjacent rooms, and the staircase they had used to reach this position was the only viable exit route. From his overwatch position, could see the approaching enemy reinforcements more clearly now. At least 30 fighters were moving toward the compound in 2 separate groups, and they would arrive within minutes. The Apache helicopters were engaging targets on the perimeter, but the team needed to extract immediately or risk being completely overrun. "Doc, how long do you need to stabilize?" His voice carried the weight of command decisions that could mean life or death for his entire team. 5 minutes minimum," replied while applying a tourniquet to his leg. "Maybe 10 if we run into complications." Made a calculation that would define his career and his character. The enemy reinforcements would reach the compound in approximately 8 minutes. His team needed at least 10 minutes to properly treat and move him to the extraction point. The mathematics of the situation were simple and unforgiving. "Williams, Doc, listen carefully," said over the radio. "I'm coming down to help you move. The Apache can provide overwatch for a few minutes, but we're cutting this very close." Williams looked puzzled. "Commander, if you leave that position, who's going to coordinate fire support and watch our backs during extraction?" Was already moving down from his overwatch position when he made the decision that would be talked about in SEAL training schools for years to come. He had carried his .50 caliber rifle on hundreds of missions, and it had never failed him. The weapon was an extension of his own capabilities, a tool that had saved countless lives and completed impossible missions. Was focused on treating wounds when appeared in the doorway. The commander was carrying his medical aid bag and had his sidearm ready, but his primary weapon was nowhere to be seen. "Where's your .50 cal?" Williams asked, confused by slight load. Looked directly at, "Doc, you're going to need this more than I am." He held out his prized rifle with its high-powered scope and armor-piercing ammunition. "There's a clear line of sight from that back window to the rally point where is waiting. Enemy fighters are going to try to hit our extraction zone." Stared at the weapon in amazement. Was offering him the most accurate and powerful rifle in their arsenal, trusting him with a responsibility far beyond his medical duties. The gesture meant more than just tactical support. It was a statement of absolute confidence and trust. "Sir, I'm a medic, not a sniper," protested. "You qualified expert marksman with multiple weapon systems," replied calmly. "And more importantly, you're the only one who can treat while maintaining overwatch on our extraction. I've seen you shoot, Doc. You can do this." The sound of approaching enemy fighters was getting closer. His tactical analysis was correct. They needed someone to provide precision fire support during the extraction, but they also needed medical skills to keep alive. By giving his rifle, was creating a solution that addressed both requirements. Williams helped position for transport while took point to lead them out of the building. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Would lead the way with his sidearm and tactical knowledge. Williams would carry and would provide overwatch with the .50 caliber rifle while monitoring his medical condition. As they prepared to move, felt the weight of his rifle in his hands. The weapon was perfectly maintained and zeroed for shooting style, but would have to adapt quickly to its characteristics. He had fired .50 caliber rifles in training, but never in combat conditions with wounded teammates depending on his accuracy. The movement down the staircase was slow and deliberate, was losing consciousness from blood loss, and had to balance speed with medical care. Every few steps, he checked his pulse and breathing while scanning for threats with his rifle. When they reached the courtyard, could see the tactical situation clearly. Enemy fighters were moving through the compound perimeter, and the Apache helicopters were engaged with targets throughout the area. The extraction point was 200 meters away across open ground that offered minimal cover. Made the call to move. Doc, take position in that window and cover our movement. Williams and I will carry to the rally point. Keep those fighters away from and watch for the extraction helicopter. Positioned himself at a second-story window with a clear view of the rally point. Through powerful scope, he could see maintaining security despite his shoulder wound. Enemy fighters were approaching from multiple directions, and the Apache couldn't engage all of them without risking civilian casualties in the nearby village. The first shot took with his rifle was at an enemy fighter positioning a rocket-propelled grenade launcher near the extraction zone. The .50 caliber bullet struck center mass, neutralizing the threat before he could engage the incoming helicopter. Felt the rifle's recoil and noted its precise response to his adjustments. And Williams were halfway to the rally point when spotted 3 fighters moving to flank their position. His second and third shots were fired in rapid succession, demonstrating the kind of precision that had recognized in his medic's training scores. Both targets were eliminated before they could threaten the evacuation. Outstanding shooting, Doc's voice carried pride and relief over the radio. Is stable and the extraction bird is 2 minutes out. As the medical evacuation helicopter approached, continued providing overwatch with his rifle. His medical training and tactical awareness combined to create a unique perspective on the battlefield. He could identify threats while simultaneously monitoring his teammates' conditions and coordinating with the helicopter crew. The extraction itself was executed perfectly, and were loaded onto the helicopter first, followed by Williams and was the last man to board, carrying his rifle and his medical gear. As the helicopter lifted off, he could see enemy fighters reaching the compound just minutes after their departure. During the flight back to base, sat beside as the medical team worked on. You saved lives today, Doc, not just with your medical skills, but with that rifle work. Looked down at the .50 caliber weapon that he still held. This rifle saved us, sir. Your trust in me just gave me the confidence to use it. Smiled for the first time since the mission began. That's what brotherhood means in the SEALs. We trust each other with our lives, our weapons, and our missions. Today you proved that a medic can be a warrior when his teammates need him most. The mission was ultimately successful, was captured by follow-up forces using intelligence gathered during the firefight, and all team members survived their injuries. But the story of the SEAL commander who handed his .50 caliber rifle to his medic in the middle of combat became legendary among Special Operations Forces. Continued serving with SEAL Team 7 for 3 more years, earning multiple commendations for both his medical expertise and his marksmanship skills. He never forgot the lesson taught him that day, that true leadership means empowering others to succeed, even when it requires personal sacrifice. His rifle was eventually retired and now hangs in the SEAL training facility at California. A small plaque beneath it reads, "In combat, we fight not just with weapons, but with trust." This rifle represents the moment when a commander's faith in his medic saved lives and completed the mission. The brotherhood forged in combat extends far beyond individual missions or deployments, and remained close friends long after their military service ended, bound together by the trust and sacrifice they shared during their most challenging moments. Their story continues to inspire new generations of SEALs who learn that the strongest weapons in their arsenal are not made of steel and gunpowder, but of trust, training, and brotherhood.